What's going on, everybody? It's GameUnboxingReviews here, and welcome back to another Marvel Spider-Man news update. That's right, people, we're finally getting more details on Marvel Spider-Man on PS4. This is very exciting. I've been looking forward to this game for a very long time, so it's just so great to finally hear something new. Because just recently, Game Informer revealed that their next issue would focus heavily on Marvel Spider-Man on PS4. And in this video, we're going to talk about everything that they just recently revealed. So, without further ado, let's get to it. Alright, so in the next issue of Game Informer, they've said that we can expect to hear details about the game's main missions, such as the opening mission, and plenty of details on the open world side activities, collectibles, plus they're even going to reveal some new villains and the game's official release date. Now, personally, I'm really looking forward to hearing what they have planned for side activities, because I think it would be really cool if there are activities set for Peter and Spider-Man, because for so long now, I've wanted a Spider-Man video game that put as much focus on Peter as it did Spider-Man, and Insomniac Games, they totally get that, and that is exactly what we're getting in this game, which is really, really exciting. But the fact that we're finally going to hear about when we can actually get our hands on this incredible game is extremely exciting, so I am really looking forward to finally hearing just what the release date is for Marvel Spider-Man. Now then, moving on, Game Informer has also said that they dive deep into what we can expect to see from the web-swinging controls, combat complexity, and, surprisingly, deep upgrade paths, which include suit crafting. Yes, that's right, people, you heard me correctly, I said suit crafting. So this might mean, emphasis on the might here, that we might be able to make our very own Spider-Man costume for Peter to wear in the game. Now, that would be absolutely incredible, because ever since the PS1 games introduced the Create a Spider feature, I've always wanted a Marvel video game to elaborate on that and allow me to make my own Spider-Man costume. So if Insomniac Games have actually done this, then this game will more than likely exceed my already extremely high expectations. Now, next up, we're going to break down the recently released gameplay, and the first thing that I want to talk about is the new web-swinging mechanics, because they have completely blown me away. I mean, that is just absolutely incredible stuff. The latest gameplay showcased that Spidey can dive bomb, he can shoot a web at the very last second, he can freely slingshot himself during mid-swing, he can pull himself towards buildings, and he can also quickly navigate between different objects, which to me reminds me of a more seamless version of the web rush feature like we saw in Beanox's amazing Spider-Man video games. And this isn't really anything to do with the web swinging, but I love the fact that there's birds and things on the rooftops and, you know, they fly away when Spider-Man swings past and stuff like that. That's the little attention to detail that we've never seen in a Spider-Man video game before, and it's so cool to see that much attention to detail being put into a Spider-Man game. I just cannot wait to see more from this. Now here we get a really nice look at the game's mini-map. So there are two icons on the map. One is purple and the other is green. Now I think the purple icon might be crime related, but the green icon has really got me thinking, because that kind of looks like a backpack to me. Now I could be completely wrong there, because obviously I couldn't say for sure what this icon represents, but what if there are several alleyways located all across the city, and when you go to them, maybe you have the option to be able to change into Peter Parker or a different suit using your backpack. Now, as some of you may know, this is something that I've wanted to see in a Spider-Man video game for an extremely long time. So if it makes it into this game, then I will be beyond happy. But of course, this is just my theory. And also, before we move on to the next topic, I thought it would be worth mentioning that there is an option to perch when you press L2 and R2, as you can see in the bottom left of the screen there. Now, I'm not quite sure how Spidey will be able to perch in midair, but it's still a very interesting thing to note. Now, next up, we need to talk about rain. Yes, that's right, people. It rains in Marvel's Spider-Man on PS4. I mean, this might not be something that gets a lot of people excited, but for me, it does, because I think with open-world games nowadays, they really should have lots of different weather types. It should be sunny, it should be nighttime, it should be able to rain freely, and the fact that a Spider-Man video game is going to have rain is beyond exciting. I mean, I don't even think I can remember any Spider-Man video game where it rained during the open world. I mean, of course, there were moments in the Ultimate Spider-Man game where it rained, but that was just in missions, even though they were set in the open world. But finally, Insomniac Games have done it, and it looks absolutely amazing. I mean, ever since Spider-Man 3, I've always wanted to be able to swing around the city in the black suit whilst it was raining and just stop crimes all day. And I mean, we have the rain, so here's hoping at least one iteration of the symbiote will make it into the game as an alternative costume, because that would be truly amazing. And lastly, speaking of alternative costumes, Game Informer have teased that we might see gameplay of alternative suits this month, which is very interesting because at one point during the gameplay that they released, we can see Spider-Man taking on Mr. Negative's inner demons, and as you can see here, Peter definitely isn't wearing Insomniac Games' now iconic PS4 suit with the white symbol. So the question is, what is Peter wearing? Well, it's a very quick shot, but to me, it actually looks like it could be Insomniac Games' very own take on the classic costume from the comics, which of course could mean that it's an adaptation of Amazing Fantasy 15, the Ultimate Comics, etc. Point is, this is very clearly a classic-inspired red and blue Spider-Man suit with a big red spider on the back. Now, ever since the first, open-world Spider-Man video games, I've always wanted them to just throw in a classic comic book Spider-Man costume. With the movie tie-ins, of course, they had costumes that were very similar to the classic version, but you want the real deal. And I think with this game, Insomniac Games might have done it. We might finally be able to play an incredible Spider-Man video game whilst wearing the classic iconic Spider-Man suit. Which brings me to my next question, because why is Peter wearing this suit? Well, it could be one of two reasons. Number one is fairly simple, but this could just be an unlockable costume that the player can freely use in the game. Now, number two, however, is a lot more interesting, because ever since this game was announced, people have been asking Insomniac Games why Spider-Man's suit looks the way it does. And every time they were asked this, they explained that the suit looks this way for a reason, and that there is a meaning behind every change in Spider-Man's suit. Now, my theory is that, like Batman in Batman Arkham Knight, I think Peter starts off with a more familiar looking Spider-Man suit at the beginning of the game, and I believe the suit that we see in this gameplay is maybe the one that he starts out with. I mean, it's possible that perhaps this suit is damaged and Peter makes the Insomniac Games suit, but I think there's a lot more to all of this than meets the eye. But of course, we will just have to wait and see. Alright guys, that's pretty much it for this video. Now, if you enjoyed this video, then stay tuned, because there's plenty more Marvel Spider-Man on PS4 coverage to come. Because, of course, Game Informer, they're going to be talking about this game all month. So we're probably going to get, a little bit of news here and there every single week, I would imagine, or at least every few days, which is extremely exciting, because for a game that we've all been excited about for a very long time, there hasn't been a whole lot of news. So to finally get to the point where we're going to get lots of news is really great stuff, because I just can't wait to hear more. Anyway guys, as always, I want to thank you very much for watching. Stay tuned for lots more videos real soon, and as always, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe.